Good evening, everyone. Happy Monday, everybody. How's everyone doing out there? This towards the end of June. So, welcome back to another exciting ride on Urban Birds and Bees. As always, I'm your host and moderator, Kerry Neal, Dr. Kerry Neal, and you know what we do here at Urban Birds and Bees, where we have unfiltered conversations on relationships, identity, purpose, community, and personal growth. And today, we're tackling a fascinating topic that affects nearly every adult, but rarely comes up in the same conversation: dating and home ownership. We're talking about home buying and dating, the pros and cons. And we have two magnificent guests here to help us dive into the subject matter. We got the wonderful, amazing Dr. Zoe Shaw, and then we also have a realtor and entrepreneur, Arvion Chase, and we're going to introduce them in just a second. But first of all, how are you ladies doing today? You guys doing good? Doing great?
I'm doing great.
That's
Yes.
Yes, doing
fantastic. Yeah, yeah,
great. So glad to be
yeah.
here.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's kind of dive into our preamble, so to speak. So, for many people, finding the right partner and purchasing a home are two of life's biggest
Mm-hmm.
milestones.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens when those two worlds collide? Should you buy a house with someone you're dating? Can financial incompatibility destroy an otherwise healthy relationship? I mean, we can go on and on with this. Does a person's credit score tell us something deeper about who they are? And is home ownership still the American dream? Or has the dream itself changed? So, to help us answer these questions, as I mentioned before, we're joined by realtor entrepreneur and founder of Chase Lifestyle Group, Arvion
Yes.
Chase.
Hi.
Just a little bit more about Arvion. Okay, Arvion helps buyers, sellers, and investors navigate one of the most important financial decisions they'll ever make. Beyond real estate transactions, she also educates clients on wealth building, financial literacy, and strategic real estate investing. Wow, one stop shopping. If that's not all, let's just add interior designer to
Yes.
her portfolio as well, which I
Mhm.
understand is what catapulted you into becoming a realtor. Is that correct, Arvion? Is that
Correct.
correct?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, welcome to Urban Birds and Bees, and look, we are very excited to welcome back to Urban Birds and Bees the one and only Dr. Zoe Shaw,
Thank
who
you.
is going to be getting married towards the end of the month as well.
Yeah.
So this is
Hey.
an exciting time for in the next month. So tomorrow, well, a couple of days will be July 1st. Okay, so a little bit more about just reintroducing her. Dr. Zoe Shaw is a licensed psychotherapist, author, speaker, and host of the podcast Stronger in the Difficult Places. She
Mm-hmm.
is she is widely recognized for her work helping people overcome emotional barriers, unhealthy relationship patterns, and what
Mm-hmm.
she describes as complex shame, which I understand that's you coined that yourself. Is that correct,
I
Dr.
did,
Zoe Shaw?
yes.
Okay. Her work has been featured on Forbes, excuse
Mhm.
me, in Forbes, People, Today.com, National Geographic, and on the Oprah Winfrey Network. Welcome back, Dr. Zoe Shaw,
Yeah.
to Urban Birds
Thank
and
you for
Bees.
having me
Mhm.
back. Glad to be here.
Yeah, this is great stuff. I should mention too, you guys really get a chance to know Dr. Shaw. She has a fascinating story.
Mm-hmm.
So she has a very insightful, thoughtful, and quite transparent about her very unique upbringing
Mm-hmm.
and her life's journey and where it led to where she is today. So fascinating. So aside from all this, we should have a fun conversation with this exchange here, but definitely want to check out Dr. Zoe Shaw. And you can find her at drzoeshaw.com.
Yes.
Okay, so let's dive in, ladies. Let's dive. You guys ready to do this? Let's dive in. Let's
Let's
dive in.
Yes.
go.
Let's dive
Okay,
on
let's
in.
talk about this concept called the American dream. The American
Yes.
dream. So, when you guys, I'm gonna start with you, Arvion. Okay, so when you hear
Mhm.
the term American dream, does home ownership still sit at the center of that dream? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that it does, because home ownership is one of the number one ways to build wealth, generational wealth. Mortgage payments, instead of paying rent, you can own something. So I believe it still is the American dream. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, you mentioned like the health, excuse me, wealth creations, stability and
Hmm.
security.
Correct.
What's interesting too, just had a podcast not too long ago, and we were talking about, what happened in Altadena. Obviously, about the
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Calabasas and all the fires.
Yeah.
But what's interesting, how I guess I'm going to say like 80 to like north of 80% of all the homeowners in Altadena are African American. And a lot of times, one of those homes were passed down from generation to generation of
Yes.
family
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
heirlooms, and that devastation was really huge. And I think the home ownership in the United States for African Americans is like something north of 40%. So I mean, Altadena is very important in that regard. So home
Yeah.
ownership, wealth building, really fascinating dynamics. And and kind of think about the term home. So Zoe Shaw, I want to go to you, right? Okay, so let's talk about sort of this psychological meaning of home. Talk about what is home aside from the brick and mortars that we talk about. We know the song out a long time ago that Luther said, "House is not a home unless
Right.
someone
Yeah.
special is there." So when you hear home, what are your thoughts about that, and how does that strike you, particularly maybe dealing with some of your clients as well?
Yeah, well, there's home and then there's home ownership, and both of them have an emotional component to them in terms of how people think about it. Um, Often in my practice, I will have couples and singles who are, looking to couple up, and one of the things that they often really yearn for is that home that they own because of the meaning of owning it as a couple and all of the attachment to that. But, home in and of itself psychologically means safety. It means a place of peace. It means a place of solace. It means the place that you go where your people are there. And it's also grounding, right? The idea that this is
Hmm.
the place where we are, and I know I can kind of go, whether it's children leaving and trying things out and coming back, or partners, going to work and striving, but coming back to this place that grounds them. That's kind of the psychological idea of home.
Hmm. I never knew. So home, whether it means that or it's infers safety, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting, interesting.
Yes.
Wow,
Yeah.
learn something new every day, man. See this fabulous community. We got this group we have up here. These guests on this panel. Man, we're already learning amazing things. So, Arvin, I want to go back to you, right? So,
Yes.
let's talk about um, this whole idea of what home buying reveals about a relationship. I want you to kind of tell us a little bit about some of your experience with some of your clients and things like that. So that you work with countless couples
Hmm. Yeah.
and some single folks as well, right? So you work with couples and
Hmm.
single folks, right?
Correct.
Okay, so
Yes.
what have you learned about relationships simply by watching people go through the home buying process? Talk about that.
I have learned that once money gets involved and we're talking about big purchases, you learn a lot about your partner in that situation.
You don't say.
Yes. One partner, so this is an experience. So I had a couple come in. One partner was very organized. They knew their credit score, everything was together, but they didn't have the conversation prior to them wanting to buy together. The other partner never even looked at their credit score. So they didn't even talk about the finances and the credit score and what was required to buy the home. So when it came to that, it did bring up other issues within the relationship because now we're talking about a big purchase and it kind of slowed down the process. So we had to go back to the drawing board and help the other partner get their credit together and everything else together. And it kind of opened up conversations for them to talk about, in that process. So I would say that just make sure you guys are aligned together. They're having those conversations before they're going to those next steps, because it opens up a lot of doors when it comes to those type of things.
That's interesting because that sounds like, while you encounter that, Arvion,
Hmm.
a great deal, uh, Dr. Zoe, that's right in your lane.
Hmm.
Respond to what she just said.
Well, you were asking about what the home buying process shows, right? And the reality is that the majority of divorces have a component of money issues involved in them. And
Mm,
so money is huge when it comes to communication in relationships. when people think about being vulnerable in a relationship, there's sex and then there's money. And
Yeah.
sometimes money feels more vulnerable than sex.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so, what can often happen is yes, the home buying process can, if the relationship isn't healthy, if these are things you guys haven't already talked about and discovered with each other, the home buying process can reveal those things. But in a healthy relationship, these kinds of conversations should have happened way before you're even
Mhm.
thinking about purchasing a home together.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay, so let's stay right there for a second. Okay,
Mhm.
Dr. Zoyce, let me ask you. So, um, why do you think there is so much trauma,
Mm-hmm.
so much um, fear, protection, not really want to disclose things, or, you know, why are there so much challenges around when it comes to money and love? Why does that exist? Help us understand that. Help us unpack that for a second.
Well, I don't think it's specific to money and love. It's really about society and the
Okay.
value that we place on assets, on money, right? On the things that you have. And so it just attaches itself to our romantic relationships. And in these places where we're supposed to be
Mm,
vulnerable, where our people are supposed to know the most about us, that is where
mhm.
shame can show up because outside of those relationships, it's very easy to cover that up. Right? We don't talk about that. It's socially,
Right.
we don't talk about the amount of money we make. We don't talk about our
Mhm.
debt. We don't talk about those kinds of things. But yet that's expected to happen inside a romantic relationship, especially a relationship where you guys are partnering, whether it's
Mhm.
marriage or deciding to put some things together legally, financially together. Then all of a sudden you're expected to be vulnerable in a way that we don't do normally in society. And
Mhm.
so if you already feel uncomfortable about the way that you move with money, if you have
Hmm.
family issues or family messages or dynamics or ways that you move with your money, and maybe you're not feeling okay about it, you're going to tend to have shame. And when shame shows up in a relationship, our response is to always hide. And then that creates other issues.
That's a podcast right there in and of
Yes.
itself. That response alone. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God.
Mhm.
So is it safe to say, to stay with you, Dr. Zoe, would you say that stressful life events reveal character, or does it simply expose what's already there?
I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Yeah,
Right.
stressful life events reveal things that may otherwise not be revealed when things are going well. Yeah. Which is why
Uh,
in a relationship, you need to see your partner in all
Mhm.
kinds of different ways. You need to see them
Mhm.
upset. You need to see them in the midst of grief. You need to see them frustrated, overwhelmed, stressed. You need to see them when they're happy. You need to see them when they're taxed, because that is how you really understand the fullness of a person, not just in the good times and not just when you're dating and talking about surface things.
so, Arvion, okay, so if you could just give
Mhm.
us a peep, let's be like a fly on the wall, so to
Mhm.
speak, of a past client, maybe, and I'm not saying anything recent, or if it is
Mhm.
recent, just be as ambiguous as possible.
Mhm.
Can you share with us like an interesting scenario that sort of personifies itself the way that Dr. Zoe Shaw just described? Maybe that you says, oh, okay, well, here's some things they clearly don't talk to each other.
So it was a situation where hidden debt came to play.
Mhm.
Mm.
Ooh, there was hidden debt.
They did not know. They did not know that the other party had a lot of hidden debt, which caused the issue to where we could not close the transaction because of that.
Wow.
So
Hold on. Was
then
it
it was
hidden? Was it hidden because the person controlled it being hidden, or the other person just didn't know for sure what was
they
going
did
on?
well, the person knew what's going on, but they didn't communicate that with their
Got it.
partner. And then
Got it.
it revealed it in this situation. So then it came down to the point where we can no longer go in together with the property now. So what are we going to do? Or am I going to go do it alone, or we're not going to do it? So it caused a whole nother issue, and we ended up not moving forward with
Mm.
it until that was a whole other situation with their relationship. So
Wow.
And then you've
Were
got
you?
trust issues, right? In the
exactly.
relationship. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Oh, now it's spiraling
Um,
out of control.
Correct.
Mhm.
Yes.
Wow,
Um,
wow,
so
wow.
at that point, my job as a realtor,
It's
that
done.
that was it. It was
Yeah.
done.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow. Have you ever had a situation where whether they were married or just seeing each other and something complicated, similar to what you just described, came to the surface and they went their own separate ways? Have you seen a situation like that?
I haven't, I don't know what ways they went. But there was
Okay.
a situation, but there was um,
Yeah,
an engaged couple, them wanting to buy their first home together. Um, that didn't pan out again because conversations weren't had before. That didn't end up happening. So I don't know which way they went after that. I don't know
got it.
if they
Got
went
it.
right. Yes.
Yeah,
So
they're
yes.
trying to add a little.
Yeah. So I guess it comes down to the communication at the end of the day and being transparent about your debt and things that's going on in that case.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Just trying to add a little provocative layer to this conversation. But Doctor, I want to go back to you because I think this is interesting, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're both fans of Brene Brown, and you talk a lot about shame, and you talk about the complex shame and things like that. Um, Talk about that and reintroduce to us to those maybe who are not familiar with your coin phrase, complex shame and how it might apply in this situation and may have applied in the scenario that Arvion just shared with us.
It absolutely applies in the situation that Arvion just shared because, well, first of all, complex shame is a type of shame that doesn't get alleviated when you talk about it and you receive external compassion. So when you talk about something and someone may give you external compassion, what happens for you is you feel a sense of, oh, but if you really knew, you wouldn't be giving me that compassion. And then the other thing that
Mm,
sometimes happens is that you will talk about it and then the external compassion isn't there. So someone either gaslights you and tells you you're overreacting. This happens a lot for my
Yes.
minority communities. Is you're playing the race card, or why are you making such a big deal
Yes.
about it? And so your shame doesn't go away; it just goes deeper, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
that's
wow.
complex shame. And in the context of this relationship that she just talked about, I'm sure this woman must have felt deep shame, such that she was willing to go through this whole process, probably in some ways even, gaslighting herself and hoping that this wouldn't be revealed because she felt so badly about herself that she couldn't reveal this to her partner. And there must have been a part of
Wow.
her that felt that if she revealed it, then she would be deemed unworthy. And so she didn't. She held it. And complex shame never, it just doesn't turn out well because often things that we hide come out in other ways, whether it's through our own doing or somebody else's, discovery. But it definitely damages relationships because the other thing that happens in the complex shame is that because you feel this sense of unworthiness, you hide. And when you hide, you have a sense, even if your partner loves you, you can't take in that love or feel it because you have this sense of if they really knew me, they wouldn't love me. And so then you're responding to them as if they don't, and it just becomes this vicious cycle.
I don't know if you realize how much of a therapy session you're putting on right now.
Mm-hmm.
This, this is and a quick plug. I don't know if you are you still accepting clients for that you had like a retreat or something that's going on. Is that still
Yeah, so
happening?
I have a Stronger Woman Intensive. It's closed for now, but it will open again in January. And I'm also doing a shame-free dating program that's opening in January as well.
A shame-free dating. Oh, but we got to talk more about that. Oh, that's
Mm-hmm.
interesting. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yes.
okay, so wow. Wow, man. Folks that are not tuning into this, they are missing out. Okay, so now let's just talk about very directly what the title of this podcast is,
Mm-hmm.
home buying and dating, pros and cons. So let's start with you, Arvion. Okay, now, so a person who is you're dating and you're not married to, even if there are intentions down the line to get married, should they
Mm-hmm.
enter into a home buying process? What are the pros and cons of that from your vantage point?
I'm not going to say no. What I would say if they choose to do that, make sure you have the conversations. What if we decide to sell the home? What are we going to do? What happens when we break up? Who's going to get them? So just have those important conversations before you decide to go in to do that, to prepare for everything if anything happens. So I wouldn't say no, don't do it. I would say prepare.
I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, it makes
Right.
sense, right? But it's
Yeah.
like, well, if y'all break up, it's like, so like, okay,
But
for
it's just
instance,
like if you're married, it's the same thing. If we're married, we still have to have those same conversations because people get divorced all the time, and they still have to decide when we get divorced, what's going to happen? Are we who's going to keep the house? What's going to happen when we who wants to? If you want to sell, I want to sell. I feel like it's the same conversations.
uh, okay, okay, okay. Um, um, put your the psychotherapist lens on that for a second, Dr. Zoe Shaw. What are your thoughts about
Yes.
what you just said?
I would be happy to. I have very strong thoughts about that, and my answer would be no. It is not a wise decision from a relational point of view to buy a home before you get married. And there's a couple of reasons. First, especially for the maybe lower income earner or for someone who may not be able to qualify on their own, they are
Mhm.
putting themselves at risk by creating that financial legal entanglement with someone who's really benefiting from your ability to pay for portions of the mortgage. My question would be first, why are you willing to entangle yourself legally? And why are you more willing to commit to a financial asset building with someone than you are
A
a
super
relationship
significant one at that.
commitment? It
Super significant
is.
one.
It
Yeah.
is. And it's beneficial maybe financially for one person in the
Mhm.
relationship. But my question is, why are you willing to make that financial commitment and you are not willing to make an emotional, relational commitment? That reveals more about the relationship than anything else.
Mm. So what would be your
Well, the other thing is that there
assumptions?
are
Go ahead.
protections that marriage offers, especially to
Mhm.
a lower earner income partner, because yes, you can have prenups. Yes, of course, either way, you're going to have to split. But if you're a lower earner, there's alimony. There's protection that will help you if you have to split the house and leave because there may not be any equity and you may have been putting years of money into a home and you may not be able to qualify later. And so there are protections that marriage offers that are not offered if you simply go into buying a home with someone that you're not married with. But I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Hmm.
No, no, that's good. So, this is interesting. Well, first of all, Arvion, respond to what she just said. So she's saying,
Mhm.
don't even
Mhm.
go down that alley. And I know it's probably tough for you
Mhm.
because you like, look, this is what I
Yeah,
do for a living
correct.
and that kind of thing. So,
Uh-huh. Because I have a personal of what I may feel, and I have me as a business of what I may feel. So it's two different things. But I do have clients that have did home ownership together that are not married, but they did put the protective things in place, right? They had contracts, whatever, what it's going to be if something happens. And so far, so good. It's working out for them. So I've seen situations where it worked out. I've seen situations where it hasn't. But my personal views of it, and me as a realtor, right now I'm speaking on as a realtor. I feel like if this is what someone chooses to do, just make sure you have the protection in place.
well, that's kind of interesting, right? So,
Mhm.
so I'm going to kind of put you on the spot a little bit, Arvion, for a second, right?
Mhm.
So let's just say, and I know you've probably had this situation before
Mhm.
where you've had clients, maybe they weren't married,
Yes.
and maybe you saw some things that were kind of messy. You might say, well, I'm not sure they should be trying to buy a home right now because such and such. Not that they weren't able to afford it, but maybe you just, you've been doing this for a while, so you kind of see some things. Would
Mhm.
you like not at all, even if you felt like maybe you should say, well, you guys can kind of come back to this maybe 6 months later, or, maybe try it after you're married. Would you not ever cross over to from the lane of being a person independent, said, "Well, this is probably not really good for them," and but understanding what obviously how you would benefit as a realtor.
Mhm. Mhm. It depends on the situation. Not everyone is open to hear your realtor's opinion on what they choose to do with their finances and then buying their home. So it depends on the situation. It depends on the relationship that I have with my client. So no, I
Okay.
will not just a client comes and I choose I have an opinion on it and I'm just going to share my opinion because I have one. No,
Okay.
but it depends on the situation.
So, okay, so back to you, Dr. Zoe. So I'm
Mhm.
going to stay here for a quick second, right? So you've kind of been very clear where you stand on it, but let's just say that you were being kind of neutral, trying to hear them out, right? Would you ever advise a couple to discuss a breakup plan before purchasing a home together? Essentially, a prenup.
Absolutely. I would first discuss the things that I asked already, that the bigger question is why. And
Right.
also make sure that they understand that, buying a home is a financial commitment, getting married is a relational commitment. And often people confuse the two. And
Yeah.
so women especially will feel that if they buy a home with a partner, that then somehow means that he is committing more to them. And that is not true at all in a
Oh,
relational way.
Mhm.
It tends
yeah.
to ease some anxiety and create this false sense of protection that doesn't exist. And so,
Mm.
yes, I would absolutely point out the protection that doesn't exist. I would point out that he's willing to entangle himself financially, but is specifically unwilling to commit to you relationally. And make sure that a woman is able to acknowledge that and be okay with that, and then understand the benefits of marriage versus not. And yes, certainly they could come up with some type of legal agreement that may or may not be fully binding about what would happen if they decide to break up. I don't know about alimony or things like that or
Yeah,
similar
yeah, yeah.
things when you're
Mhm.
not married, but
Yeah.
I would absolutely suggest that male or female protect themselves um, in a situation like this because it can be very risky.
And so one thing you're saying that's very, by the way, if you guys just joined us, I'm on with Dr. Zoe Shaw, psychotherapist and real estate agent, interior decorator, entrepreneur, Arvion Chase, and we're
Yes.
talking about home buying and dating, pros and cons. Okay, so you said something I think that's very interesting. I'm sure that anyone listening probably finds this fascinating and maybe to some degree sort of reaffirming that oftentimes the home buying prior to actually going down the aisle is more so perceived as sort of a safety net, so more for reassurance of the relationship, and really doesn't have much to do necessarily with the convenience of, well, you're renting, I'm reading, we're together all the time. Why don't we just buy a house? But it's something a little bit more interesting. Am I right by making that a
It
assessment?
can be. It can be construed as that. And
Right.
my encouragement to you is to recognize that they are not the same thing at all.
Mhm.
Mm, mm,
It's not a deeper commitment to the relationship. It's simply a financial strategy.
right. If one thing I'll say about this conversation right now, I'm very clear. Whoever is listening out there and who's going to hear this on YouTube and whatever else out there on Facebook and who are on here, I mean, this is a perfect example why everybody needs to see a therapist.
Hmm.
You need an
Yeah,
objective third
Yes.
party to weigh in on stuff that you do, because I guarantee there are things that you don't see.
right.
You don't see
Yeah.
and you won't see. And you need someone who doesn't have a dog in the
The
fight.
fight. Hmm.
That
Hmm.
they're really
Hmm. Yeah.
there to just independently assess
Yes.
what's going on and use their expertise.
Hmm.
And as I believe God has told me, and it sounds like Dr. Zoe Shaw is going to take the mantle to dethrone Cheyenne Bryant. That's a whole other conversation. That you have amazing people like this that have skills and expertise, not to mention in her specific case, that she has lived experiences that enhances anything that she's been able to attain in terms of her scholarly work. So, anyway, I just want to say that. So now let's talk about credit.
Mm.
let's, let's talk specifically about credit scores, debt, and dating. Okay. So now let's be credit. No, let's just be honest. Excuse me.
Hmm.
Uh, can a bad credit score become a dating problem? Now, Ariane, I'm gonna let you answer this, but now, first of all, you're single. You're single. Um, I'm just curious, can you set aside your role as a realtor for just a second
Uh-huh.
and objectively consider dating someone with bad credit? Why or why not? Man,
The
I'm putting
answer.
you on the spot, man. This is great, right?
You've been throwing me on the spot all, it's
So we're about keeping it stack here on Urban Birds
listen.
and Bees. Go ahead,
Okay.
talk to us. Break it down for us. Talk to us.
Well, the answer will be no. I wouldn't. No, and that would be a conversation that I think is important to have early on in the dating
Mhm.
process.
Absolutely.
Because credit is everything. Without that, what can you do? You can't
So,
do anything
so,
without.
so, so, I just want to be clear. So, when you say that, are you the type of person that would only date for marriage, or are you just saying, look, whatever situation it is, even if it's not marriage, bad credit is nil, or what's your thinking there?
I'm dating for marriage.
Got it. Got
So
it.
exactly, yeah. So credit is important to that, and to where me the buying process, me trying to buy things, us buying together, all those things is important. So I think that credit is actually one of the most important things to know about someone.
What
So
if
no,
they kind of went? Well, what if they went through like a bad situation? It's not necessarily representative of their habits, but then they just need to sort of recover. Does that not still no for you?
it would depend on the situation. I would have to know the breakdown, the story, everything behind it to consider that. Yes. Why are you
Gotcha.
laughing? I'm being yes, I'm being for real.
Because I can see those like, so, you just don't understand. Okay, so what had happened was and the
And
white
and
man
and
did
and
this,
actually,
and
in the beginning of it, that probably wouldn't even matter anyway because you could tell me anything. So
okay,
actually, it would probably still be no.
yeah, yeah. Well, I've talked to some men, and they have said that if they meet the right woman, they start fixing and repairing and overhauling everything that's kind of janky or just been left like because they like say, okay, now I really get my stuff together because she is a winner, so I need to make sure I get that right.
Yes.
But I'm curious, Dr. Zoe Shaw. So weigh in on that too about the whole credit thing, and then I'm sure this is continues to bullseye your concept of
Mhm.
complex shame and other things like that. What are your thoughts on what she just said?
So, Arvion is speaking from a perspective of a woman who my
Right.
assumption is probably has good credit. And
Mhm.
so, what's most important is that you are like minded. And so, if
Mm,
you two are young, both of you guys have bad credit, and there are other qualities that are really great, and you guys can build together, fine.
Right.
Um, but it's not wise for a woman to date someone who is not like minded, who is not at least kind of at her level in that way. And
yeah.
so, yes, credit absolutely matters, because credit score, does it tell you something about a person's personality, about their character necessarily? No, but it tells you a lot about their behavior.
Mhm.
And that
Mm,
matters a lot in a relationship. If someone is not able to really be on top of their finances in a healthy way, and you are, then
Mhm.
you're not compatible.
okay.
Yes.
And is it how do we distinguish between someone's circumstance and someone's
Yes.
habit? How do you
Mhm.
sort of put
Right. So
in
that does
their
make
own
a big
boxes?
difference. I mean, you do
Mhm.
make a good point there. Um, the story matters. Getting to truly understand somebody and their situation.
Mhm.
Maybe, they owned a business, and, maybe they went through a
Mhm.
divorce. Maybe there was some type of bankruptcy that was, maybe and I've actually known, unfortunately, I've known people whose spouses have, hidden debt and destroyed them without their knowledge. I had a couple who,
Ooh.
this woman, she, trusted her husband, and the police came to her home one day. She lived
Ooh.
this wonderful life and thought everything was fine. And the police showed up at her home to evict them because they had lost their house, and she wasn't even
Wow.
aware of it until that moment. And that's because her husband had a gambling problem and, things like that.
Mhm.
So, yes, the circumstances do matter. That was
Mhm.
completely outside of her ability to control. The divorce had to happen. There was bankruptcy. There were all types of things. And once again, then, she is now rebuilding, and that does make a difference. So, does the story
Mhm.
matter? Of course it does. Um, but generally, someone who has just generally been someone who hasn't been able to make good financial decisions, who
Mhm.
overspends, who doesn't save, that and that's not you, then it's just not going to be compatible. But of course there are different circumstances.
Whew, you have no idea how much you're stepping on toes. When people are listening to this, oh my God, this is interesting. Okay, so what I want to do is, okay, all right. Okay, I want the listen audience. I want you guys to know this. So before we do podcasts, we try to bring a level of excellence. So we almost kind of write out a script in terms of what we're going to talk about, things like that. And it's not that we read things verbatim, but we kind of stay within the guardrails, just so people kind of understand what we're going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I'm telling you guys this because I'm about to go off script for a second because something just sort of
Oh,
came to
good
mind, right?
gracious.
And I want to talk, and I know this subject could be a podcast in of itself. I want to talk
Mm-hmm.
about background checks because you
Mm.
just said something, Dr.
Yeah.
Zoe, about how someone's kind of caught off guard. But Arvin, I want to go to you first, and then I want you to knock it out the park, Dr. Zoe, next. So here's the question to you, Arvion. So reflecting on yourself as a single woman, beautiful single woman at that. Isn't she beautiful? Beautiful woman.
Oh,
Yes.
well, thank you.
Gorgeous.
And then and obviously what you know as a realtor, right?
Mhm.
Would you ever encourage anyone to do a background check on the person that they're dating? Here's a
Mhm.
caveat, without them knowing about it.
Yes.
You would. Okay, talk
Yeah.
about that.
Yes, I wish that I would have done a couple background checks in the past. So I think that if it could have prevented you even getting yourself into a situation that you wouldn't have been in the first place. So I feel like I would do that. I haven't done it. You just gave me something to think about now. But
Well, again, I want to make sure I'm just answering the
mhm,
question. I'm not
yeah,
necessarily an advocate for that, but
yeah.
I'll tell you what my angle is. But I'm just kind of curious
hmm
where you are with
I,
that.
I don't see anything wrong with getting a background check with someone that you are wanting to or interested in dating and spending your life with. That's important. If they're going to do it, you go apply for a credit card, you get a house, they're going to do a background check, right? So I don't see what's the issue of you doing that in a relationship. You can learn
Even
a lot
even if it
about.
mean yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Even if it means that I mean, why not just ask the question? So what I mean, why just say, hey, here's things I kind of want to know. I'm kind of concerned and just want to know, can I ask these questions? Blah blah blah. You rather just
I would
go behind his
I would
back and
still go
do
ask the question. hmm
okay, then you're gonna confirm his answer to what you discovered on the background check, right?
I think that I would still
I'm just
have
I'm
those
just asking.
conversations. Initially, no, I'm not going to just say, "Oh, I just met this." Actually, I just met this person today. Let me go do a background check and see what's going on. No, I don't think it happens that way. But I do know when you meet someone, they might not do a background check, but they do go on social media. They do go on Google and Google, who the person is, what they're about. People do that. That still is not as extensive as a background check, but you're still checking to see who this person is. So I don't
Okay,
see anything
so I just
wrong
I
with
just want to be clear. I'm not really referring to because I think we all probably do
yeah,
a Google
Social
or
media,
check
yeah.
their social
yeah.
media. I'm not talking about that.
You're
I'm
saying
talking about
you're
that
going to
you go
go.
through a level
Mhm.
that you're able to get access to their personal information that they would ultimately typically have to share with you, but you have taken another route
Mm.
to see what their credit
Well,
is and other things like
okay.
that and whatever else that only they would be able to share with you unless you went through like a private investigation service or something like that, whatever. So you would do that, what I'm hearing.
Okay. I think that I would have the conversation now that I'm putting myself in it now. Because if that was me and someone did that to me, then I don't, that would be a problem. So I guess no, I don't think that. Why would you do that? If I feel like I have to do all that and I can't trust the person we're having a conversation, then now we're going to
I'm
a
just
whole
asking a
nother.
question. I'm not
No,
making an
no, that's
assumption. I'm just asking.
yeah, no, I'm just saying, like,
Right.
yeah. No, I don't I think that you should be able to have a conversation and learn that through the person and trust what they're saying.
Okay. So sounds like you're backing off. So you would not do the background check then.
Me personally, no, I would not do the background check. If someone chooses to do that, I mean, if that was, I would communicate with the person and say that this is what I'm doing. I would be transparent about it. And then if they're okay with it, I will do it.
Got it. Got it.
But I wouldn't
Dr.
do it
Zoe
behind
Shaw.
their back. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Got it, got it, got
That's
it.
sneaky.
Because typically, I think when people do background checks, it's typically done behind their back. They do it
Yeah.
without the other person knowing about it. But I was just curious what you thought. Dr. Zoe Shaw, please weigh on that, on that same
Yeah, I
question.
mean,
Your
it's a very
thoughts.
complicated issue. I've never done a background check on anybody that I was dating and never considered it. Um,
Right.
I rely on my intuition. And
Mm.
if there's some reason why I suspect that someone's not being truthful, with
Wait a minute. So
me,
your intuition could go,
Mhm.
something
470
doesn't
credit
feel right.
score.
Well, yeah. So if something doesn't feel right, then I'm going to look more deeply. But if
Right.
you are in a relationship with someone that you distrust to that
Right.
extent that you need to go behind their back to do a credit check on them, you shouldn't be in the relationship.
Hmm.
You can learn
Ooh.
and know
Ooh.
enough about somebody without having to do that.
Mm.
I agree.
Wow, this is interesting.
Mhm.
So here's my take on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And certainly, and I could probably make this almost the same case for a prenup, but we're not going to go there. We could try to keep within the guardrails of talking about
Yeah.
home ownership. But because I'm all for a person being vulnerable and sharing that they may still have some open wounds, but they're working through it and things like that. So what I could respect is they say, you know what, um, I had a bad couple of relationships and things like that, and you seem like a
Mm-hmm.
great guy, but just for my comfort, can we do a background check on each other?
Yes, that's very
Because
different.
now you're not saying that, well, something must be wrong with him or something must be wrong with her.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying let's both self-disclose.
I will be vulnerable. I'm asking for
Mm.
you to be
I'll be
vulnerable.
let's be
Yes.
vulnerable
Yes.
together.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, I remember when I was married or when I was engaged and then ultimately got married. I remember my fiance at the time. We did a credit check on each other, right? You go to three bureaus and they show all the three reports, and we did it. So we did it. She gave me hers, and I gave her mine. And I'm like saying, "Wow, you pay all your bills." I mean, it was like impeccable. She looked at mine. She said, "Somebody have a problem paying their bills on time." It was funny. It was hilarious, right? So anyway, it was a very interesting thing. But anyway, I kind of wanted to talk about that
Mm-hmm.
because I'm personally blown away at to the degree that people talk about not trusting the person and they use these examples. I mean, you never really hear about amazing, blissful relationships on social media. It doesn't get a lot of attention, but you hear all the trashy stuff. So people will base their life decision on all that toxic information. And anyway, I digress. All right. So again, we're talking with Dr. Zoe Shaw and with Arvion Chase, and we're talking about home buying and dating, pros and cons. Now, let's talk about this whole idea of home ownership, and particularly maybe even to the degree it may make you be perceived as um, a high value person or makes you more attractive to some degree. Okay. So here's a scenario. Okay. Here's a scenario. And this is to you, Dr. Zoe.
Mm-hmm.
If two people walk into the room and one rents while the other owns a home, does that change how they're perceived in the dating market? Question.
100% yes.
Yeah, talk about
Should
why,
it?
why is
That's
that?
another question. But
Yeah.
once again, it goes back to what our society values and what home and home ownership represents. It represents
Hmm.
security, it represents financial stability. Now, is that
Stability.
actually happening? Maybe, maybe not, but that's what it represents in society. And so when we look at, and I hate that term high value, by the way, because it's,
Mhm.
Yeah.
it doesn't fully encompass anyone, and
I
in some
totally
ways
agree
can be
because usually
very
it airs to
derogatory.
like external stuff, right?
Yes,
And
Yeah.
yeah,
yes,
yeah, I agree.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But do we still have, sociological, values that are put on things like home ownership? Absolutely, yes.
So digging a little bit more into that. So when does that preference become an unhealthy judgment?
I think it is an unhealthy judgment from the
Just generally
start.
speaking, anyway. Yeah,
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 I think it just is.
yeah.
But the other thing that we might want to talk about is the reality of women versus men, because it only
Hmm.
applies
Yeah.
to men.
Mm-hmm.
Men do not value that in women in the way that women value it in men. And that
That's very
is
true.
based on our biology and what,
Right.
we women are vessels that carry babies and can create life, which does make us more vulnerable biologically in some ways. And so we tend to look for security, right? And status is another, kind of representation of security. And so men do not value that in women in the same way that women value it in men.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very true. Yeah, it's interesting. And while look, don't get me wrong. I mean, I can certainly be impressed by, a woman maybe got her doctorate degree or she's highly placed in her company or whatever the case may be and things like that. I mean, that can be impressive, but yeah. Um,
Sometimes it can actually be a turnoff, especially if a man has his own level of internal
True.
shame, or if he isn't a homeowner, he may be
Mm-hmm.
intimidated by a woman who does. So it can actually have the opposite effect for women. Doesn't happen, unfortunate, whatever you want to say. It just doesn't tend to happen with men.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's a good point. I think at least from my peers, from conversation with them, I'm not can't speak for all men, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
But we don't tend to have an issue with women when their external accomplishments, like,
Correct.
degree attainment,
Mm-hmm.
property acquisition, the great balance sheet. It's when we feel as though that they're using it to compare to us that it makes them better than us. That's
But the
where the issue
question,
kind
though,
of.
I have to argue is, why do
Okay.
you feel that way? Is that actually happening, or is that a projection because of the way that you
Mm-hmm.
feel about yourself? Because I know
Correct.
Yeah, I
many
think.
women who may, not be using it, and sometimes even will tend to hide it, right? And then a
Mm-hmm.
man will find out and then have all of these assumptions. So it depends. Men who are very secure in themselves, who, don't have an issue with that, yeah, it could be maybe even an asset. But for some men, it can be intimidating.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess my thought on that was that certainly want to celebrate the fact that, man, this is great. I,
Hmm.
I I think that we just want to know that um, we're far more interested in you as a woman and
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily we're tackling. We think that's just an addendum that you make
Yes,
great
it's
money
like,
and things like that,
hmm,
and reversal is fantastic. But yeah, I think most balanced dudes who are relatively healthy are just kind of like, yeah. So how feminine are you? Can you be a great support and what and other things like that? So see, I think we're deviating to another podcast too. So we'll come
yeah,
back to that,
yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Okay, so well, Arvin, I've been kind of talking about this with Dr. Zoe. Arvin, what are your thoughts on this?
Oh, I'm with Dr. Zoe. I'm like, yes, yes.
The high five, chest
Yes,
bump, right?
yes. Yes, I agree 100% with everything she said. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so going back into the lane of you being a realtor, have you observed this dynamic in your work with two clients? How have you seen, what, excuse me, what have you seen if you can be objective?
I'm sorry, you're asking me about my work with
No, no,
clients?
no, no, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm talking to
Arvion.
Arvian.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
As
clarifying,
a
what
particular.
have I seen as far as what?
Well, in terms of we introduced the scenario in the beginning, like one person owns a home, another person rents. or whatever seemingly there is more assets with one than the other, so to
Hmm.
speak. So that's what I'm asking about. And what have you seen in, being objective? What has been your impression in this, in what you've
Um,
seen?
it's similar to what you guys are talking about. If the male has all the assets and everything, then it's not an issue. It's like, okay, let's
Mhm.
continue on. When it's the woman, on the other hand, then that's when the issue happens, because if you have a man that is not on her level as far as the assets that she has, or if them trying to do home buying together, it does it does draw issue, and it has a certain, you know, stigma behind it. I'm not sure why that is. It is a double standard. So
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
that's the reality.
This is such a great discussion. Oh my
Hmm.
God.
I know that can be so frustrating
Yeah.
for a man who is, doing the best he can, who is, working hard and trying
Hmm.
and feeling like, why are you only valuing me for,
Yeah.
financially or my assets? Um, and it's not only, and once again, I want to go back to alignment as well, because if you two are aligned in other ways, and especially when we look at, young couples, there's a lot of building, there's a lot, that you're going to be starting out not having a lot.
Hmm.
Older couples, it does become a little bit different, but unfortunately in our society, you know the way that things are set up, men are still kind of have this
Yeah.
expectation to
Hmm.
be a provider and care for. Not that obviously women aren't doing that as well. And in my relationship, my fiance was very, excited that we both came to the table equally. We're both homeowners. We both do well financially, and that was a positive thing. There wasn't any intimidation. But I have, been in dating situations where it's kind of looked down upon.
Yeah. Man, you got that big old house. What can I do for you, right? That kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. We made the observation. Well, first of all, we're very fortunate to have these two exceptionally brilliant, sharp women on our panel, but they're drop dead gorgeous too. But specifically, I want to go to you, Arvion, with this next question. The attractive realtor. Let's
Hmm.
talk about this for a second, right?
Yes.
Okay, so, and we're going to talk about this because this is something that people they don't really talk about, or they don't really admit, right?
Hmm.
So, has being an attractive real estate professional ever helped or complicated your work with couples? And one thing I want to say this too, and I think we kind of talked about on our our preparation process, that it seems like it's almost as if you're a pretty woman. Oh, you should be a real estate agent.
Hmm.
I mean, it's like every time I see a poster of somebody talk about their real estate, like this is drop dead gorgeous woman, right? And then
Hmm.
for women, the man may be, extraordinarily handsome or whatever the case may be. So it almost seems like, the more attractive you are, the more and there may be some correlation in terms of how attractive you may be perceived to be, that somehow correlates with high real estate sales. I mean, I don't know. But talk about that. Have you experienced that? Or that's not been your experience at all? Or, and if that has been, what do you do to kind of diffuse that, right? Because you may have people in here that totally impressed with you and want to give you a call, but they say, but man, she's fine though. So I want her around my husband and whatever else. So I don't know. So talk
Hmm.
to us.
I would say it has not affected my career.
Okay.
Um, Me being professional, I come in with being knowledgeable and really trying to help my client. I don't think that they see me, but not seeing, oh, she's an attractive woman. They see that I'm here to provide a service, that I know what I'm doing. So I lead with my service. I lead with me being professional. I make sure I'm dressed accordingly and I'm looking presentable when I'm going to my clients' homes. So it hasn't affected me with married couples. So I think the way you present yourself, being confident and being knowledgeable about what you're doing, and they respect your craft of what you're doing outside of what you look like.
Yeah, you know what? I got to say to that. Your humility is duly
I
noted.
know that wasn't probably. Hmm.
Because I met you at this podcast summit, and
Yes.
you stand out. You're tall. You're beautiful. I
Hmm.
mean, you are very beautiful. I am certain when you walk into anybody's home and things like that, I do not doubt that you're super professional. Know what you're doing.
Hmm.
I'm sure. And you said that's never been an issue. That's never been an issue.
That has not been communicated to me that that was the issue. So no.
Okay, I'm talking about the vibes and stuff. Like we know it's not going to be talked about.
Obviously, yeah,
Nobody's
you
going to
know,
admit to it.
right. I mean, yes, you know when you walk in, you can feel the energy, but it's my job to make sure that I make my clients comfortable. Even if they have a
So okay,
wife,
let's
I'm
talk
making
about
sure
that.
they're
What do you do
comfortable.
to diffuse that?
First, I'm confident. I be myself,
Okay.
be confident, know what you're talking about, have something that you can actually help them with, and they see that you can help them and you know what you're doing, then I feel like in my situations, it hasn't have been an issue. So they respect my craft and what I'm doing. But yes, I'm not going to say what I look like does not draw, get me customers and clients and people want to work with me. But that only gets me the customer. I have to be the one to keep them and make
See,
sure
it's
that it
coming
looks.
out now. See, I just let her talk. It's going to come out eventually. See, we
That's
knew it was
just
going
what
to come. We
we
knew it
just
was going
needed
to
the.
come out.
Okay, for example, yes, we went to the podcast. Yes, that's going to get you through the door. It's going to get you to meet the people in those, in those environments. But it's up to me to make sure that I communicate and do what I can do to get the business. So yes, it does get you through the doors. It does get you, clients. But I have to run my business professionally. That's what's going to get me the business to help me keep my clients.
Gotcha. Um, and that's probably why you mainly deal with women doctors away, because I'm sure you're been with men. Your fiance would not be having it, right? So it's like saying, "No,
Well,
you gonna stay in
that's
the
not
lane with
true.
women." That's not true.
No, that's not true. Although my niche is women and my brand is women, and I speak to women
Mhm.
predominantly. My
Yeah,
practice is about 50% men as well. And
yeah.
so, but that being said, what we do know about research, I don't know about specific research for realtors, but there is a pretty advantage, and that exists. And women
Yeah,
who
the
are
halo
pretty
effect. The halo
are
effect.
aware of it, yes.
Mhm.
And women, sales women tend to make more, tend to get bigger deals when they are attractive. And the same goes for men as well, by the way. It's
Mhm.
not just there is an attractive advantage in our society that exists, and it's real. And it is what it is.
Yeah.
And so you deal with it as you can. And I won't say that you necessarily use it, but you are aware of it. And
Mhm.
sometimes you have to mitigate it, and sometimes you let it be if it's to your advantage, if I'm speaking honestly.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Well, we got to keep it honest. Yeah. That's we wouldn't
Yeah,
have it any other way, right? Well, so
correct.
Dr. Soy, so back to you. So why do you feel like some people are threatened by attractive professionals while others are not?
It's the same reason why people are threatened by attraction to begin with. So,
Mhm.
um, you know, there's also this connection that, beauty and intelligence don't go together. And so sometimes people can assume that if you're beautiful, therefore that's why you have the status that you have, as opposed
Mhm.
to
That
recognizing
everything's been
your
given to you, right?
intelligence.
Yeah. It just
Yes,
kind of comes to
yes.
you.
And therefore people can feel jealous or have an issue with it, and that's just not necessarily the case. And so that is
Mhm.
unfair, but it is, once again, something that our society does not necessarily equate beauty with intelligence.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Isn't that like a global phenomenon? Or is that just a Western concept?
It's a global phenomenon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Interesting. So, Arvin, I'm just kind of curious. So, have you ever known within 5 minutes which spouse wasn't thrilled that you were handling their transaction?
Yes. Sometimes less than 5 minutes, yes.
Wow. 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 What about you,
Well, you were
Arvion?
asking Arvion, sorry,
Well,
when you
I
said
mean,
transaction.
listen, well, I'm with you. Yeah, you can feel it, but the show must go on. You still, I'm still
Amen.
here to do it. I'm still here to provide a service, and I'm going to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when, part of my work is to also make people feel comfortable with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I'm
Mm,
sure you do the same thing, Arvion. When
Yes.
you can
Mm-hmm.
feel that energy,
Yes.
then you're going to actually work a little harder to connect
Mm-hmm.
with the person who may be feeling kind of unsure about you, to make them feel safer, to make them feel
Correct.
secure, and to feel a connection with you.
Yes.
Hmm.
mm,
Mm-hmm.
interesting. Okay. This
Yes.
is a very interesting conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know just talking about buying a home could bring out so much
Right. Yes. Yeah.
internal stuff, right? Um, let's talk about home buying as a relationship stress test. Okay, so Dr.
Hmm.
Zoe, we're going to come to you on this. Okay, now could buying a home be one of the quickest ways to find out who you're actually dating?
Well, it's interesting because it is not a stress test that you should ever use to understand who you're dating. Because once again,
Yeah,
I
because I
don't
can
feel that
imagine
you
people
should buy
want
a
to
home
date and
with
just want to buy
someone
a
you're
house.
dating.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Say that
yeah. I
again.
agree.
Right.
Well, yeah,
So,
I mean, wow, this is the name of the podcast. I couldn't fathom why you're dating a person you're dating and you're going to go into a transaction like buying a house that's all
right.
consuming. Yeah, that's. I mean, and I get you can liquidate the asset fairly
Mm-hmm.
easy, but still, it's like, yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Yes. So the answer is yes. I mean, you know, getting married, buying a home, having children, moving, life transitions are stressful, right? And
Right.
so in those transitions are going to be the times when your partners or your family members, true colors or even just deepest deficiencies come out. So we can see our partners at their best, and then we can see our partners at their worst, and they're going to be different. We should know what those look like. At his best, he is this. At his worst, he is this or she is. And the question is, at their worst, am I okay with this person to spend the rest of my life with them, or even to get into a financial entanglement with them at their worst? So the answer is yes, of course, it brings out stress. And so you're going to see some things that you wouldn't otherwise see.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Interesting. And all right, I think we kind of talked about this, but anyway, you want to respond to that as well?
I agree with what she's saying. Like I
Yeah.
said earlier, it brings out a lot of things. You learn
Mm-hmm.
a lot of new things that you didn't know before, and we see if we survive after everything comes out. So,
Right.
but that's not the goal, right? We're not trying to do that. We want to have it all together before we make this decision.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Okay, so we're getting towards the end of our podcast, but I want
Mhm.
to throw some rapid fire questions to you guys, right? Okay, so
Mhm.
Arvion, we're going to throw it to you. So I'm going to shoot you a question. Just give me a really quick response, okay? Have
Okay.
some fun here. Okay, biggest home buying mistake.
Mm.
Home buying mistake is trying to wait until you're ready to buy. You want to get everything in order before you buy.
It's good.
So is it safe to say that maybe um, um, entering the process to buy a home can
And to
get you ready just by going through the process? Is that what I'm hearing as well?
meaning that sometimes you don't make decisions because you want to make sure every duck is lined up. So you don't go for the buying process. You don't even go for it, even try to go buy the house. So don't wait until
Uh,
everything is lined up. Just go ahead and you can start the process and get it done.
yeah, yeah. I have to say that certainly buying a home is one way definitely to fix your credit, right?
Correct. Yes.
For sure, for sure. Biggest relationship mistake during home buying. You, Arvion.
Oh.
All these
Um.
questions are for you. All these questions are
Okay.
for
Okay.
you.
Sorry.
Rapid fire.
Uh-huh. Biggest mistake during home buying. Not being transparent with your situation, hidden debt.
Mm-hmm.
Just not being transparent with what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I hope people listening to this. This is
Mm-hmm.
good. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Rent or buy right now. Today's market right now.
If you are financially able to buy, I would buy. If flexibility is a big thing for you and you're not ready, then renting. So
Okay,
whatever season you're in your life,
got it. Most overlooked cost of home ownership.
the overlook cost.
Most overlooked cost of home ownership.
If you meaning for the process, you mean like the closing costs and is that what you mean? The cost of it? What?
Yeah, just whatever. Just
Ownership.
what yeah, just yeah, most overlooked cost of home ownership. Like someone buying a home, maybe
Hmm.
some they didn't factor in financially. I'll probably
They
say
don't
probably
factor in
property
the closing
taxes.
costs. Most people never factor in the
Mm.
closing cost at all. They think you just got to put down your down payment, but no, there is also closing cost and other costs involved. So
Yeah,
yes,
and so and so
closing
and
costs.
so so how do you mitigate that? You kind of talk about that and sort of project what that's going to be up front so they
Correct.
know.
All that is upfront, and your net cost is a breakdown that we give before everything. You know everything is going on.
Yeah, yeah. And best wealth building advice you would give.
Get into purchase a home. Home ownership. That's the number one wealth building. One of the number one things to build wealth is real estate. Buy.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Gotcha, gotcha. Dr. Zoe, your turn. Okay,
Yes.
biggest dating red flag.
Dishonesty.
Ooh,
Yeah.
man, I want to shut down the podcast just on that alone. That's so powerful right there.
Yes.
Biggest green flag.
Well, I'd say vulnerability, ability to be vulnerable, and ability to have hard conversations.
Mm, yeah, yeah, yeah. I again, I think you guys know I'm a big fan of Tim Ross, and he said, and he was so eloquent when he said this. He said, "Your relationship is only as strong as your most difficult conversation."
Amen.
Yeah, he
Amen.
said that. Okay, so one financial conversation every couple should have.
Well, every couple should know the credit score of their partner. They should understand their debt and they should understand their financial personality, their spending personality. It doesn't have to be the same as yours, but you need to understand what your partner's perspective is on finances, on debt, on retirement, on building wealth, all of that, investing.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. That's good. Um, is love enough?
Absolutely not. I often say that love is no good reason to get married, and lack of love is no good reason to get divorced. A healthy relationship requires much more than that.
Okay. And what predicts long-term relationship success?
Friendship, compatibility, and honesty and vulnerability.
Yeah, this is so good. Okay, and so we're going to come to our final question. Okay, here's the scenario. Okay,
Okay.
and Arvion, we're going to go to you first. Okay, so imagine a 35-year-old single man and a
Mhm.
35-year-old single woman. They're listening right now. Okay,
Yes.
they both want love, both want a home, and both want financial freedom. What's the single most important piece of advice you would give them?
Focus on yourself, focus on your goals, focus on your career, and all that will come to you. So the part, all those things will come to you. And when they come, you will be ready to receive it.
Ah, gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
Mhm.
And obviously, same question to you, Dr. Zoe Shaw.
If what you're looking for is love and you're looking to buy a home, and I assume with that, build a family to some extent, my advice is date intentionally.
Hmm.
Be You date like it's your part-time job and
I was going to say, could
know,
you describe what it means to date intentionally? Because people hear that
yes,
all the time, but what does that
yes.
Yeah.
mean? Right?
Be very clear about your absolute no's. Have a
Mhm.
list that describes your person, right? And when you begin dating, you should be asking these types of questions. You should be very clear about what you're looking for in a relationship. And no matter what you feel about the person, if they do not live up to especially your absolute no's, or something like that, you need to be willing to cut the relationship off quickly. So you should be able to date intentionally, meaning you are dating regularly, you are putting yourself out there. Yes, that includes apps, which a lot of people have issues with
Oh,
apps.
wow.
And you are also cutting relationships off very quickly when you've already figured out that you will not marry them. If that's what you're looking for in terms of love, then that's what you need to do. That's what I mean by intentional. And especially at 35, you should not be taking breaks from dating. You should not only be focusing on yourself, in my opinion, if that
Mhm.
is your goal. Now,
Mhm.
financially, that's a whole different thing. You should be living your life. You
Mhm.
should be buying your home if you want to buy a home. You should be setting yourself up financially if that's your goal, while you are intentionally dating to find that partner.
Mhm.
This is so good. This is so good. Man, you guys are dropping gems all over the place. Okay, so are there any questions on Facebook Live or anything? Because we're gonna get ready to wrap up here. I want to make sure um this is interesting. Okay. Lots of comments, no question. One person says, I could easily, well, she said, I could possibly, this is Summer Richards. She's actually a licensed marriage family therapist. She's what she says, I think I, no, excuse me, I think it could possibly encourage partnership focus, which is necessary for an adaptive relationship. Many couples do not know that relationships require a partnership. This can be thought of as a business transaction. If they are mature and
Mhm.
recognize the
Mhm.
realities, it can work. That was just
Okay.
a comment they said.
Mhm.
Oh, well, no, she does have a question here. She says, how does home buying translate into security? Marriage does not even mean there will never be an end.
Mhm.
Home buying does not transfer into security at all. And if you guys
Right.
want to be business partners, that's one thing. But often
Mhm.
someone in a relationship is actually looking for marriage or looking for a deeper
Right.
commitment. And
Mhm.
so,
Mhm.
no, home buying does not create security. And that is exactly my point. Now,
Yeah.
marriage does create some security. There is a legal commitment. And there are, like I said, protections in marriage that do not exist when you are simply dating someone. So, I mean, I don't agree with her statement. I have a couple devastating, story. And this woman, she's a fiance, but she's been a fiance for 15 years.
Mhm.
And they started this whole, we're going to buy a house
15 years,
together.
fiance?
15 years. We're going to buy
Wow.
a house together. She is the lower earner, wage
Mhm.
earner. And with this kind of commitment that, yes, eventually this is our first step towards commitment. She's
Right.
had 3 children with this man, bought a house with him. And now she's in this place where the relationship is over. He had never intended to commit to her in
Right.
that way, which is
Yeah.
why he wanted to buy the house. She's helped pay for this mortgage that she can't
Wow.
afford now that they're breaking up. She also can't afford to purchase a house and she has no protection. And so, no, buying
Mm,
a house together does not create any security. It creates a false sense of security, like I said.
Mhm.
yeah. Interesting.
Mhm.
Interesting. Ariane, you want to weigh in on that? Thoughts?
Um, no, I'm with, yeah, that she said it perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Rhonda Adams, she said that she agrees you need to see your partner in at least 4 seasons in
Amen.
Mm.
all areas.
Yes.
In all areas.
Amen to that.
Interesting. Yeah.
You don't need a whole year to do that, but amen to that. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. 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 Well, I think the thing is too that so um she has her name is Cindy Brady, but that's not her name, right? Maybe she wants to be incognito here. Um she's just saying what? She just kind of
It's
was.
okay. I understand a lot of people will disagree with me,
Mhm.
but I'm speaking from 25 years of
Mhm.
experience with couples and watching their
Sure,
relationships and how they deal with finances and, all of these things that I've seen over the
Mhm.
years.
sure. Yeah, this is um and the other thing too is it just seems like a lot of people, this is mainly in the dating lane, not necessarily if they're buying a home or not. It's just people seem to be on this hamster wheel of dating, and they just seem to
Yes,
date, and no
yes.
one's really making it very intentional to be with someone. Maybe they have their
Mm-hmm.
apprehensions
Mm-hmm.
about marriage and whatever else, but they just sort of on this cycle of just date a bunch of people with no real thoughts in mind.
That's
15
true.
Yeah.
years and 3 kids as well. Anyway, I'm not sure what she said there. Anyway, so final thoughts. Lots of comments on Facebook. So you guys are stirring up a big mess here. What are you guys doing?
We're speaking truth.
I'm
Listen.
speaking the truth.
Yeah,
That's what's
yeah.
up. That's what we do here. Okay, we're gonna get ready to wrap up here. But we're gonna ask you guys to give us final thoughts. Arvion, we're gonna start with you. Give us 30 seconds or less. What are some of the final thoughts you want to leave to our listeners?
Um, Build generational wealth. You build that through real estate. So buy real estate, you can rent, you can leave it for family legacy, but it's important to invest in real estate. Also, relationship wise, know your non-negotiables, date intentionally, and once you do that and the right person comes along, then you will be prepared to receive that. And like you said, you cut off the situation early in advance.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But that's good. That's good. That's good. And so I'm sure many people have been impressed with your skill set as a real estate agent and things that you have said. So how can someone get a hold of you if they want your services?
You can reach me on Instagram at Arvion Chase. That's ARVIONECHASE. Also, my website is chaselifestylegroup.com.
ChaseLifestyleGroup.com.
Yes.
ChaseLifestyleGroup.com. Okay, awesome.
Mhm.
All right. So, and Dr. Zoe Shaw, please, uh, what would you like to leave with our listening audience?
Well, just a reminder that a mortgage does not answer important relationship questions. It does not provide security. And so you need to make sure
Mm,
all of those things are happening before and not looking at that as some type of example or certainty that something is there in a relationship. You need to actually have it in the relationship.
mm, so good. So good. Man, I'm just telling you, I want to just play this over and over again. This is going to help me. This is some great stuff. Anyway, big round of applause, Dr. Zoe Shaw and Arvion Chase. Woo, crowd goes wild.
Thank
You guys
you.
have been absolutely fantastic. We hope that all of you out there, whether it be in Facebook land, on YouTube, and whoever else is listening, that you have enjoyed this conversation. And remember, as Dr. Zoe Shaw has said, buying a home is buying a home. It does not replace security. It is not security. It can be an expression of it, but that's not what it is. You got to deal with the person. So again,
Yes.
for our magnificent guests here, I am Dr. Kerry Neal. This has been Urban Birds and Bees. Please follow us on Instagram at Urban Birds and Bees will be, excuse me, underscore Urban Birds and Bees. And also like and subscribe on YouTube at Urban Birds and Bees podcast. And obviously, we can catch the audio of this all over the world at your favorite podcast outlet. So, again, for our amazing guest, Dr. Zoe Shaw and Arvion Chase, I'm Dr. Kerry Neal. Thanks so much for joining us. Until next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Start recording.